let me say a special good morning to the mainland of Grenada, our sister isles of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Good morning and welcome to another edition of To The Point. Today being Tuesday is the 9th day of May with the year 2023. Let me say good morning to my social media audience. Yeah, I gotta get them in as always. Those of you via the Facebook page, good morning. The YouTube channels, good morning. All the best to you also. Those of you who are viewing via GBN's webpage, whether that's gbn.gd, good morning to you and welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for being with us this morning. And it's Tuesday as usual. It's Opposition Tuesday here on To The Point. And this morning, I have with me this morning the public relations officer. If I could get it, I hope I'm getting it right for the new National Party. That's Mrs. Emmalin Pierre. Let's go over to her and say good morning. Good morning to you, Ms. Pierre. And how are you? Welcome to The Point this morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, GT. Good morning to all of your listeners. And I'm doing well. I'm blessed and highly favored. I always have a very optimistic, positive view of life. So I'm always good. I'm always good.
Certainly happy to hear that. We were supposed to have this interview last week. We understand the circumstances of what happened, the passing of our dear manager here, so we had to cancel. So I want to thank you for deciding to come back on the show this morning. I certainly appreciate that a whole lot.
You're more than welcome. It happened that last Tuesday and this Tuesday morning, I'm free. Normally at this time, I'm normally engaged, but coincidentally, and I'm happy to have this opportunity and hope I would be able to have that opportunity sometime in the near future.
Certainly be welcome anytime it's available for you to be here. You know, it's my understanding that you have worked for a short time in the media. And the passing of dear manager here, managing director, that's Miss Campbell. In those days, how familiar were you with her?
Mm-hmm. Pretty familiar, I would say. I had the opportunity of meeting Odette while I worked for about a year thereabout with the Grenadian Voice newspaper. And, I always admired the level of respect and confidence that Mr. Pierre had in Odette. And two names always come back to me when I think of that particular thing. Odette being one and Reverend Osbert James being another. Now, if you knew Mr. Leslie Pierre, this was a very difficult person to please. It was a very, very difficult person to please. I often referred to him as a perfectionist. And I found it rather interesting that Odette was one of the persons he held in very high regards, very high esteem. He was extremely proud of her work. And he spoke about her quite often to the workers there. And that was when I engaged, interacted with Odette initially. And of course, following that, I interacted with her as a member of the government and in other capacities. I used to be on GBN doing a program many, many years ago. I came across her then as well. It's a very, very unfortunate situation, I'm sure, for her family's grieving at this time. And I want to use this opportunity to extend my personal condolences again to the family and friends, and of course, all of the employees at GBN who are affected by her passing.
Certainly, thank you so much for that. Now, let's get into the meat of the conversation this morning. Now, you being the public relations officer for the new National Party, there's always issues that the new National Party, of course, would like to get across in terms of that is maybe of concern to the new National Party. What are some of those issues that you would like to express this morning before we get into the direct questioning of what I'd like to ask you about? Go right ahead.
Okay. So even before I answer that, let me use the opportunity to say this, and I actually feel a little bit emotional saying that. I know today would be a very, very difficult day, as the other days have been for one of our members, that is Senator Cox. As you're aware, Senator Cox is laying his wife to rest today. And to all of the family members, to Senator Cox, I want to say to you, our heart goes out to you again today. I would imagine it has been extremely tough. None of us could really say what it feels like to be in his situation. But today I know would be even more difficult. We've had instances like these when we bury people on the day of the actual funeral, there's a difference in the pain that you feel just seeing that person being laid to rest. And I just want to extend this morning our heartfelt condolences and our greatest of support to Senator Cox this morning. I hope that he's listening. And we just want to say, continue to be strong. The New National Party continues to be with you. Now for your question as it relates to the issues. GT, you know that we have been championing the cause, particularly of the poor and the vulnerable of our society, who have been seriously affected by a number of decisions taken by the current government and issues within our society that maybe the government doesn't have total control over, but probably can do something to support and to help. And I want to mention the issue of the rising cost of living. Now, we are extremely concerned about how this is affecting people, and particularly, as I said, the poor and vulnerable among us. So let us not hide from the fact there are people who are not affected. There are people who find it very easy to continue as normal in spite of the increases in prices. But if you go around the country and you speak to the average person, they would say to you the challenges that they are having to cope with what is happening as it relates to rising prices. Only yesterday, I was speaking to a group of persons, and persons were saying they literally cannot afford anymore to buy medication. Now, when your health is now at risk, greater risk, because you cannot buy the medication, it is a great cause for concern. Food and basic food items, we are also seeing that skyrocketing in terms of prices, and that concerns us significantly. I can draw a reference, for example. An eye drop that would have cost like 2 months ago, $40-something. This week it was selling for $70-something. And that is just the reality of so many items on the shelves. Now, this rising cost of living, some of it may be controllable, right? Some of it may not be. And some of it may well be impacted by external factors. What we are saying is that there are things that can be done to cushion the effects for the poor and the vulnerable, and those who may not be poor and vulnerable, but because of what is happening, they are also challenged, because you might not be categorically poor and vulnerable, but you may have a mortgage, you may have other circumstances, and because of what is happening, you are now affected. So we are talking about this group of persons and other persons who may be affected. And the question is, what can be done? So there are different initiatives that the previous government would have implemented. We are saying, look at what can be done to implement whether new measures to probably improve on what is already being done so that people would feel less the pinch that they are currently, or the blow that they are currently having from what is happening out there. Now, measures that were taken by the previous administration, we are also saying don't discard them just because the former government would have done them. If they are helping, if they are supporting, so for example, in that conversation yesterday, one person who had he actually fell from a tree and had several surgeries since then, still unable to walk properly. And so obviously he has not been able to work for many months. He was receiving the stimulus support, right? And we understand, yes, you've said that you're going to end it. But have you considered the circumstances of the people who are benefiting from it before you decided to end it? Was there a way that you could have possibly continue it? And I'm saying I am sure there was a way that you could have considered. Did you have to remove the $150 for the senior citizens? I'm saying, yes, maybe you had to, but could you have done something differently? Yes, you could have done something differently. And these are the challenges. These are the concerns that we have, that we are calling and we are appealing to the government. This is not, and you know what is unfortunate, and it's probably within the question that you ask. Now, we've always agreed with the opposition then when they said people's voices must be heard. That was a mantra of the current government. People's voices must be heard. And we were attacked in so many ways, saying that we were not allowing people's voices to be heard. And I'm saying we may not have been perfect. Maybe we could have listened some more. But I'm saying here you are. You have an excellent opportunity to hear people, to listen to them, to make their voices heard, and not just to listen to them, but to respond to the plea of the people who are affected in so many ways. Now, what we are seeing is an attack of persons who attempt to express themselves, to share their views. This is not about the government, and if you like the government or you don't like the government. This is about issues affecting people. And we are saying the least you can do is to listen and to try to do something to address those issues. Now, and again, we're not talking tokenism. So we are not talking about just doing something to say, well, something was done. Something meaningful that would make a difference in the lives of people. I am again, on behalf of our organization, on my own personal behalf, appealing that something be done further to address the issue of rising cost of living for ordinary people of our country and other people who are affected and affected severely. So I would say these are some of the critical things. Consultation, sort of linked to what I just said. We are seeing a trend as it relates to consultation. I remember when we were in government, we were accused so many times of not doing enough consultation. And I believe as a government in office, we did pretty much a decent job in terms of educating people on matters, informing people of matters. Not a perfect job, right? But when I see what we went through, the press conferences, right? And sometimes emergency press conferences, the out in the community as it relates to educating on different subject matters. People used it for other reasons. But I'm saying what I'm seeing now is a decline in this. And I am encouraging that we continue the trend of the weekly press conferences so that people can know what is happening. People can request additional information. People can know, as I said, what is taking place, what is not taking place, what they need to know, what they need to understand better. And those are some of the issues. Because what we are seeing, for example, you look at the vendors who were moved and moved suddenly. If you listen to them, don't listen to me. You listen to them and there's a common thread. What they are saying, they could have spoken to us. There was need for more consultation. So even if you spoke to one or two persons, engage people. You look at the issue of the data protection bill, the common thread again, there was not enough consultation. And even when we begged as an opposition, let us hold this back. Let us go out into the communities. We are willing to help, to go out there, to educate people. The response was no, we are going today, and today is when we are going with this. You look at it even more recently, the Allied Health Practitioners Act and the amendments that were made. Again, you listen to persons, and yes, I remember in our administration, there was some attempts for consultation. I must say, I don't think they were supported in the way that they should have been supported by practitioners, but we are saying these are people. And you can't take a decision that because you did not support the consultation, we're not doing any more. I'm saying that we should have provided opportunities. If you listen to them again, don't listen to me. If you listen to them, they are saying between December and now, you could have come and do some more engaging, some more educating, where the advertisements on GBN and MTV and all of those media houses, where even not just the practitioners, because this act is not just going to be important in terms of knowledge for the practitioners, but for us as clients, for us who access the services, there are things we need to know. And I know those things because I may have read the document, but how many people are going to sit and read the SRNO? How many people are going to sit and read the act? And we are saying, don't take every concern as an attack on the government. See concerns for what they genuinely are and respond to them in such a way, a mature way that says, we heard you, and we are going to try to do something about it. We heard you and we are going to respond to it. I have seen in our administration where there were bills taken as far as Parliament. And what is key to note here, we did not have an opposition. We did not have an opposition. But I've seen cases where we listened to the people and we pulled back a bill that was already laid in Parliament. And I'm saying we were not perfect, and none of us will ever be. No administration will ever be perfect. But I'm saying let us do even better, because you said we did not do enough. You said we didn't do a good job. Fine, that's your assessment. But I'm saying here is your golden opportunity to do best.
All right. Ms. Pierre, you certainly spoke a lot in terms of, and getting into some of the question that I've already planned to ask you. But I want to get into the health practitioners bill. You did spoke about it, not at length. But what are some of that real concerns? I'm also hearing, a date has been changed and so forth. Give us share a bit of your perspective on this particular development about the allied health practitioners. Explain a little bit more for us. That probably from an opposition point of view that we're not understanding.
Okay, so let me say that about 2 weeks ago, there was a meeting that was convened, commendation, that you invited them all to come together. This is great, right? As you know, in December, there was an amendment to the act that was passed some years ago. I believe it was 2019, right? Now, that amendment, particularly main amendment that took place there, was to make a summary offense all of the offenses within, or the particular offense of concern within the bill, which has to do with registration and having a license to practice, right? And we know that this bill, or this act now, captures a wide range of people providing services, about 40 groups of persons. And so what the amendments and particularly the regulations would have done was to make clearer who are the persons. So prior to, right, in the original document, if you looked at it, you may not have seen, for example, manicurists. You may not have seen makeup artists. You may not have seen cosmetologists and body piercing artists and barber and personal trainers, athletic trainers, nail technician, pedicurists, spa therapists, speech and language therapists, tattoo artists. You may not have seen many of those defined, right? So what was done through regulations is to actually specify the areas and the groups of persons who are going to be affected by this. Now, let me just say first and foremost here that we have no objection at all to this law. We have absolutely no issue with the law in itself. This law seeks to lift the standards for practitioners, and it provides benefits and coverage and support for practitioners and clients alike in the industry. So we have no problem. We believe it is something good for the industry, right? Our concern as it relates to this, again, goes back to what I said previously, that the consultation and the engaging and the reaching out should have continued under this administration. And more should have been done, more could have been done, and I believe more should be done even right now as we speak. This more that I'm talking about is education, so that you would not have to ask me a question like that. Everyone would know what this involves, right? We are also seeing that in addition to the education, in addition to informing people, everyone, to know what is happening, at the same time, we need to look at how is this new amendments, how is this new regulations that was passed by the minister on the 22nd of December, how is it going to affect the practitioners, especially persons who have been in this industry for so many years? And if you look at it closely, there are many ways that it can affect. And particularly, I want to speak to the issue of the time frame. Last week, I spoke about this extensively, and I did call on the government asking that we relook the issue of the June 30th deadline for registration, right? what persons were asked was to register by June 30th. Registration comes with a number of requirements, and those requirements include cost for the practitioner. Let us just talk about one of those requirements. One of those requirements is that they must take out indemnity insurance. Number one, this service is not offered in Grenada. Maybe the closest place that they can access the service is in Trinidad, right? The law particularly, and this is another thing that I would have discovered and thought about after, the law does not specify, neither am I seeing it in the regulations, a minimum as it relates to this coverage. So for example, in the legal fraternity, it is minimum $500,000 coverage, right? I know for medical doctors, I believe it is also $500,000. I'm subject to correction on that one. I'm not sure if it's implied that because it's health that they fall under that same minimum coverage. I'm saying that's something that maybe needs to be clarified. Probably was an oversight by everyone, and that's okay, but it needs to be clarified. Now, the question is, how many persons have the ability between now and June? And let me just make the point, and I'm going to come back to that there was an extension given on Friday, right? But how many persons, even with the current extension to November, will be able to meet all the requirements? And I'm saying most may now be able to. I'm not sure, but I know that there are some persons who would still have challenges. So let us just take an Imani person who went through the Imani program, successfully completed with a CVQ cosmetology, some area. And that person, in their mother's living room, they are providing a service. Now, this has always been okay. Should it continue? No, we must lift the standard. But what we are saying here is this person is not yet even able to open a proper facility. They are not yet able to access the resources to open that facility. They may have gotten some support already, and they may have been able to buy some very basic things and to get started. But we are saying now that you are lifting the standard, it is a good time to provide some additional grant support, some additional support for these persons who may be struggling to get there. So the people who are established who don't need this, kudos to them. But let us be real that there are people who will need additional support. So we are saying, in addition to the time frame, let us also consider some financial support. So whether you want to put aside $500,000 and you say this facility is provided for healthcare, allied health practitioners who are in the process of setting up. You probably did not get through under the stimulus program. You didn't get through under that program. Here we are, a special window for you. I'm sure we can do this through the GDB, through some other facility. However it's done, let us look at some additional support, right? It appears that it's very easy to access support from the Grenada Development Bank at this time. Let us extend it to these people as well, right? Now, so you have the issue of finances, the cost that they would have to pay, and you also have the time frame that they are working with. Now, there are some people who may easily meet the November deadline. And let us also be real that there are people who will have challenges meeting the November deadline. So maybe what we can do is to look at a phased approach that would have some kind of condition, and we can probably do this through regulations, and we can find a way to say, okay, we are going with November, definitely, but we're going to cut it into two phases that would cater for those persons who are struggling and those persons who we do not want to put out of business because we know the economic situation is bad at this time. We understand and we want to support you. But there's another factor here. Now, the cost that these people are going to have to now put in between now and November. So the barber who has to now go to Trinidad or send, I'm not sure how it's going to be done, and who has to access insurance coverage, right? Maybe it's going to be done online. I don't know how it's going to be done. But having to access insurance coverage now. Because now, GT, if you go to the barber and you end up with some infection or something comes out, may not even be related to the barber cut. But now you can say, okay, the standard has risen and things are at a different level. So I'm going to operate like I'm in New York now, and I'm going to go sue you for what has come out in the back of my neck after I came from the barber shop. So he needs the coverage to be able to cover that lawsuit that you're now going to take to him. Now, he is not in a charity. He's not in a some club down the road. So it means now that when you go back after that point that he has incurred all of these expenses, you may now well be paying an additional cost to get your haircut. Oh. And we are saying it's just obvious common sense. I don't have to ask my hairdresser if the price is going to go up, because if you're going to be incurring an additional cost every year, if you're going to be incurring additional costs to upgrade yourself, because here the law also says that to maintain your license, you have to be upgrading yourself professionally, which is great, right? You must be upgrading yourself. You must be proving that you are growing in the profession, right? So I'm sure when you present your number of credits, I believe it's 10, that you would have gotten, it means that you have to pay a cost for that. As I said, this is not a charity that you run in. It's not an NGO that you're operating. And so that cost that you're going to spend to do that upgrade from a reputable institution, I am just logically concluding with common sense now that cost is going to be passed on to me. And I will have no problem with that, because I don't expect the practitioner to carry the cost, right? Because if you speak to them and they will tell you the challenges that they already having to operate now. And some of them would tell you that people believe it's a lucrative business. They work very long hours. Some of them enter their shops 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes they're there until midnight. But the cost of rent, the cost of products. So sometimes we have a perception that these people make a lot of money. But when I speak to them, you hear them out. They also spend a lot of money to provide the services that they provide.
All right. Ms. Pierre, we due for a break. Let's take it. We come back and chit-chat some more. Stay with us here, folks. It's To The Point for today, Tuesday. Let's take a break, folks. We're coming right back. Stay with us. Don't be...
Do you know, when you play the games of the National Lotteries Authority, you are supporting sports, culture, and nation building in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit-Martinique?
Hi, I am Junior Murray, cricket coach, sports enthusiast, and a former West Indies cricketer. I endorse the games of the NLA 100%. For the past 40 years, the NLA has been funding many sporting activities, including competition for schools and clubs, and for athletes to participate in overseas tournaments such as the Carifta Games and the regional cricket tournaments. Additionally, they made it possible for you, the public, to view local, regional, and international tournaments from the comfort of your homes. For those reasons, I play the game of the NLA. Even if I do not win, I know Grenada always wins.
Yes, when you play all the games, the NLA in turn supports sports, culture, and nation-building activities throughout the Tri-Island state.
Welcome back to our listeners and viewers. Welcome back, Mrs. Pierre. Well, welcome back to The Point this morning. Ms. Pierre, I want to change the direction in terms of questioning in this segment. I want to ask about, what you could tell us about the resignation of the member of the opposition yesterday, and give us a bit of perspective on that in terms of the way forward.
So just before I respond to that, I just want to say, because sometimes people think that certain things are not serious, right? And again, speaking about the serious implication of this situation as it relates to the allied healthcare workers not registering and not having a license any person, from a barber, a hairdresser, name it, any one of them not registering, not having a license according to the law, will now commit an offense that is, I mean, they're liable to a conviction, to a fine of up to $250,000 and a term of imprisonment not exceeding 5 years. So it is a serious situation, and I just want to appeal to the government to continue to work with these people to find ways to roll this out in a smooth way that people are not, affected in any serious way. So now to the question of the resignation. The party did issue a press release yesterday confirming that the Honorable Delma Thomas has submitted her resignation as a member of the New National Party. Honorable Thomas and myself has been friends, I would say, for a very long time, long before her even entering politics. As a matter of fact, she always says this, that I was the one who encouraged her first to get into politics. We actually had the conversation on my veranda. The New National Party wishes to thank Minister Thomas, or MP Thomas, for her contributions to the party and during our time in government, her service to the people of Grenada. And we want to take the opportunity to wish her all the best in all of her future endeavors, whatever those may be. And so the party continues its work at this time. And I believe the release yesterday would have indicated that at this time we continue to focus on championing the cause of people who are affected by so many issues. And we would continue our work in the St. Andrew Northwest constituency. And again, as I said, we want to thank the MP for the work that she has done in the past. But we have absolutely no options in this case but to continue the work that was started.
All right. Now, the leader of the opposition has been holding meetings around the island. Is it the plan of this meeting is only for the NMP supporters, or that for Grenadians as a whole? Tell us about that.
So the leader of the opposition has been engaging supporters of the party in various constituencies. As a matter of fact, I believe there might only be about 2 or 3 constituencies left. One of those being my own constituency. And let me use the opportunity to say that he is engaging there on Thursday at, I believe, 6:30, not I believe, at 6:30 on Thursday. And that is at the Crochuarcy School for supporters of the New National Party in the constituency. I believe, as I said, there might be 2 more constituencies after that, but it's not just those meetings. Also aware that he has requested, in his capacity as leader of Her Majesty's opposition, a meeting with the Grenada Trades Union Council and other stakeholders that he has been engaging in 2 capacities, as leader of Her Majesty's opposition and political leader of the New National Party. So there are several meetings taking place at this time, and the one that you're referring to is only one of those sets of meetings. Other members are also engaging persons at their constituency level. So I've been having several meetings with constituents as well in my constituency.
Now, there have been some issues regarding the function of MPs' offices. Has these issues been addressed? Tell us about that. What other services can an individual access from MPs' offices, whether it's, the MP is actually someone who's been elected or someone who's in the opposition?
Okay, so I think last year there were some issues raised both by members on the government side as well as members on the opposition side as it relates to the functioning of constituency offices. And I believe this problem arose because of a sudden change in the arrangement for constituency offices. So some years ago, maybe 2013, we did experience similar challenges. The bureaucracy, I believe, would have compounded those challenges. And so a decision was made to outsource the service to a service provider as it relates to managing and providing supplies and support to those offices. And that would have worked in an excellent way over the years. So those challenges disappeared because of that arrangement. The change in administration, there was a change in the arrangement. And, I always like to say that's the government's right there. If they choose to change the arrangement, they choose to change the arrangement. Absolutely nothing is wrong with that. The problem, though, is that when you make a change, you want to make sure with the change, things become better. And that's when it's a problem. So with the change, we did not see an improvement in the service. So even probably about a month ago, I've heard even members on the government side still complaining that there are some issues. And I just want to say this, that, the House Committee of the Parliament has been meeting, which is a combination of government and opposition. And the discussion has been along the line of finding a formula, finding a way, and I maintain that the way it was before, it worked. If it's not broken, there's no need to fix it. That's my position on that. However, there is another side to all of the issues that's affecting constituency offices, and that one might be a little more restricted to opposition MPs. And I want to use the opportunity to address it this morning. Now, when you go to a constituency office and different constituencies, so this is not just related to my constituency, you go to some constituency offices and you go to that office where a sitting MP operates that office. And what we find is persons are saying, go to your MP's office. So let me break that down and make it a little clearer. So if someone goes to the office of Honorable Lennox Andrew, which is St. Andrew South West, and that person says, I have a problem with housing, I have a problem with this, and I need help. That person might be told, and I'm just using Southwest as an example, in this case, that person may be told, go to your MP because you live on St. Andrew South East. And if you need housing assistance, you need to go to the office of the MP for St. Andrew South East. Now, people are also told, and I know this for a fact, people are also told that there are services offered at our offices on behalf of the government. There was a recent case, particularly to do with my constituency now, where somebody came from hospital and they went to a particular office. They said, I'm weak, I'm feeling sick, I'm hungry, I don't have anything to buy food. And the person was asked to come to my office because there are resources there for that. Now, GT, let me make this abundantly clear. Prior to the last general elections, the constituency offices would have been able to provide certain services because the arrangement at the time with the government of Grenada was that those services could have been accessed from constituency offices. About 2 weeks after the general elections, our offices were told that all of these programs, so whether it is assisting students to go to school with transportation, whether it be somebody who is very sick and need services that they might not be able to access immediately through the regular system, all of those services, and no need to detail them here now, we were told all of these services must immediately be put on hold until further notice. That was the instructions that we were given, and I obey instructions. We were told to put them on hold. Until now, we have not been given any resources or any instructions otherwise. And I believe it is not fair to us as opposition MPs for anyone, whether deliberately or otherwise, to be given the impression to persons in the public that we have access at the office to certain resources. The most we can do at these offices is to refer people to the appropriate places. So I've seen advertisements.
So if I'm tapping on you here, Mrs. Pierre, so where do people go to access services?
Right. So I have seen advertisements saying, come to this place or that place, which is not a government facility, it might be a party facility, right? I have seen also the seed office, the housing office, it is no problem. But I'm saying whatever we do, it must make things better. So yesterday, for example, and if it's made better, trust me, you will not even hear me commenting, right? I'm only commenting because people are raising genuine concerns. So yesterday, only yesterday, a gentleman came to me, a sick person, somebody who can hardly walk. And he says to me that he went to a particular office to access a particular service in St. Andrew. That person lives in my constituency. The service is offered there. I know for a fact it's offered there. But that person was told that he has to go to St. George's. Now, this person cannot even afford to pay the transport to go to St. George's. And I'm saying whatever he has to go to St. George's for could be done at this office. He's of the impression that there's a reason why he was given a runaround. That's his perception. I don't know whether the perception is reality, but that is the perception that he left with based on what was said to him. So he cannot go to St. George's because he does not have the resources to go there. And I'm saying whatever it is, the assistance could have been given. If it means calling St. George's, if it means faxing to St. George's, if it means emailing to St. George's, if it means somebody going to St. George's on his behalf, I'm saying whatever we do, let us make it better for people. Let us make it easier for people to access the services that are provided. I've said this very clear. No services has to be offered through my office. If the decision is no service should be offered through the office of an opposition MP, I am okay with this. I'm cool with this. The only concern I would have is that the people who I represent are able to access it somewhere else and access it easily. That would be the only concern that I have.
So if I have to ask, what services can be accessed from the opposition MP's offices?
Advice, referrals, encouragement, support, and love.
And also, can government services be accessed through opposition MP's offices?
And that's the point I'm making. All we can do is to refer you to say that we believe, and I made the request that at least give us something in writing, give us something to say this is now here. So you don't anymore offer this service through an MP office, but tell us specifically, because we have to be checking what you say on GIS or what you say somewhere else on Facebook. I don't have the time. So send us something specific that says this can be here. So sometimes the most we can do is to say, okay, based on what you're asking, that might be Ministry of Health. Based on what you're asking, that might be that. We might be able to call Ministry of Health. And sometimes when you call, because, and this is real, I've had cases, you can verify this with my office staff. Based on where you call, there's an attitude now because you call in from an opposition MP's office. This is real. It is real. So I am saying, I don't have a problem, and I don't think any of my colleagues have a problem with where it is provided. So if it has to be provided through office A or B or C or this place or that place, no problem. Once people can access it fairly and once it's easily accessible, we have no problem. But let people know, let people be aware, provide information, get on the press conferences and update them on those things so that they are aware and we are aware so we can advise them well. So sometimes we have to spend time calling around different places. Is this where this is provided? Is this where you can access this? We want to send somebody for that. You know, it is the best we can do under the circumstances.
Now, tell me, what advice would you give government on how to deal with that particular issue, if you can offer an advice?
Well, my advice for free would be provide a listing of all the services that were provided before from the offices of the MPs, right? And that list must say these services 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this can be accessed here. And not just here, maybe a point person. Because if you tell me, for example, if a child needs help with transportation, might be a desperate case, right? And you tell me Ministry of Education. Now, I might be trying to call Ministry of Education and can't get through. A point person, an email address, something that you can easily access somebody, where somebody is desperate, urgent. You have a case. I've had situations, for example, a perfect example. A child fell in school, right? And the hospital said you needed to do a scan immediately. Now, this is Friday afternoon. We know the system and the bureaucracy, and it's good, right? Checks and balances. But we were able to find a way to facilitate an arrangement with the service provider by speaking to the ministry, Prime Minister's ministry, where that program was at the time, and say, this is an emergency. Can we arrange with the service provider to quickly provide the service based on the emergency? Here is the doctor's report. And that was accommodated and facilitated within about an hour. Right now, if a situation like that happens, I would have to say to the person, go to the Ministry of Health, who I don't know, try to speak to somebody at the front desk. I am not sure who specifically you should go to. And I'm saying we could improve on that. We could improve on that.
Ms. Pierre, we drew for a break. We just take that break. When we come back, we will invite calls from our viewing and listening audience. If you do have a question or two, you can get it in when we come back after the break. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point for today, Tuesday. We're coming right back after the break.
Camp.
Here's what customers had to say about Domus Windows and Doors.
The service was excellent with Domus.
Excellent customer service.
Just out of frustration, searching, and just came across you, and I think it was the best, one of my best find ever.
A good feature is that I didn't have to install any burglar proofing on the door because they have laminate glass.
The manufacturing time was on point.
Thanks for what you all are doing. I will continue to be a customer.
Visit Caribbean Shutters, Windows and Doors for Domus quality UPVC solutions.
Welcome back to our listeners and viewers. In the final segment of today's program, we invite in phone calls from our listeners and viewers. A question or two you may like to ask Ms. Pierre, feel free to do so. 435-2041. We do have our very first call online. Let's go to the phone line. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, sir. Good morning to your guests, Ms. Pierre. How are you doing?
Not bad. Go right ahead with your question, please.
I wonder if the opposition and even the government did a good survey of this deal. Because I heard you said earlier on that the customers are going to bear the price. But if barbers in here just had to get to that level that they want us to go, a simple haircut in Trinidad is 100 TT in the rural areas. Right, that what you call it about 50 EC in Grenada. Could Grenadians pay 50 EC for a haircut? No. Even in St. George, they don't pay 50 EC. So what you guys putting barbers and hairdressers to is mainly putting them out of business. This bill is putting people out of business, right? And I'm kind of disappointed in you for not taking a different stand on this issue, because you guys haven't done all the survey of this thing. Grenadians cannot pay for the levels you want to put us on. And they wouldn't pay. So barbers and hairdressers, it makes more sense to leave this country and go to another country and do your trade. They make sense here. Paying $10 and $15 for a haircut in Grenada cannot bring you to a level of Trinidad and other places. You have to charge the amount of money that they're charging over there. 50 EC. Just imagine 50 EC for a simple haircut in Trinidad.
All right, caller.
Come on, Grenadians can't pay that. Have a nice day, brother.
All right, thank you for your contribution this morning. I'm not sure if you have a reply for the caller, Ms. Pierre.
Yes, and I know the caller might be disappointed in that. I guess he might be expecting me to say, don't pass this, well, it's already passed anyway. He might be saying maybe she should say she don't support the law. And I cannot say that. I cannot say that, unfortunately. I have to be fair to say that the act in itself and what it is seeking to do, it is positive, right? But what I'm saying, in addition to that, is that you are right, that this is likely nobody is talking about what it may cost the consumer, the client, because of this. And what we are saying, what I'm also saying this morning, is that we don't have to reach the point where a person pays $50 for a haircut at the barbershop. I'm saying that what the government can do is that we can lift the standard, but as we lift the standard, we can provide some support. And I'm suggesting that the way we can provide that support is to provide a window at some institution. So I don't want to, I know a lot has been said about GDB and who has access to millions and who, I'm not even saying it has to be GDB. Wherever that these poor people, these people who would be affected can access some help like everyone else, and that they do not have to pass on all of the cost to the consumer. That is what I'm saying. So let's lift the standard. So it's like you kill two birds with one stone.
Let's entertain another caller, Ms. Pierre. Good morning, caller. Welcome.
Good morning. Now, I generally say, and perhaps intelligent people say, many could criticize, but few can do better. I hope this lady understands. And she not even interpret, she understands what I'm saying. I hate this word interpretation. Anything you do or you talk or people must understand what you say, not interpret. Because everybody will interpret something differently, depending on the educational standard. Maybe if they hire perhaps this lady, they would interpret it with a more measure of experience. Anyhow, I cannot say that this government is doing well, even better than the past. Because everybody criticizes each other. What I do say, every government should try to educate people that they should be able to reason logically, analyze things, not jump to conclusion. And I personally don't jump to conclusion because I feel during the COVID, I talked, and one minister said, was so bold enough to say, I don't have children because I didn't print on me back. I have child that is right up in America, involved in education, right up the ladder. And how people could make those statements? You must make statements on experience, personal experience, not what people say. And this is the problem with us in Grenada. Everybody wants to say what they know. Everybody perhaps don't know anything, and they want to say that the school children are doing well, and when done, the children are 40 CXC, and they cannot analyze. They cannot talk to people that people could understand. For example, we have teachers. No, in the past, one teacher was responsible for his or her class. So if the teacher is a wicked teacher, the children are likely to be wicked. If he's a no good teacher, it's class supposed to be. If it's a high standard teacher, and this could be many of the problem because some come in with short calls.
Caller, take another 10 seconds and wrap, please.
Yes, sir. So this is the problem, and you could address me now.
Thank you, caller.
Don't criticize anybody. Make your statement. I'm not criticizing anybody. Statement could be true or false. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution this morning. 435-2041. I'm not sure, Ms. Pierre, have any response to the caller's statements? Are you...
No, simply to just say, I agree. More education, need for more education, and I've been saying that.
All right, let's take another caller. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
Doing pretty well, sir. Go right ahead with your contribution.
Morning, Miss Pierre.
Good morning,
Miss
sir.
Pierre. Miss Pierre, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
And how are you?
I am good. I'm good.
That's nice. Glad you're in your voice. Miss Pierre, I have a problem. I'm glad I get you. Since I bought the shares in electricity, I never get a dollar. That time Mr. Gregory Bowen was the manager. I don't get 1 cent. I bought the shares in telephone company, Cable and Wireless, in Cooperative Bank. I don't get 1 cent. And then you all take people money and then telling people they're living in poverty. And poverty people. Who bring people in poverty? Not all you what do it. Because all you take people money for investment to get a dividend share when the year up or when the month up or whatsoever. And all you give them 1 cent. All you go years on. How the amount of years all you sell all the shares. And nobody will get a dollar, and then I take about poverty. And you should shame to tell people that. Have a nice day.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution also. 435-2041, 435-2041. And we taking your calls. Let's entertain another caller this morning. Caller, good morning. Welcome. Good morning, caller. Welcome. Hello, good morning. Seem like there's no one there. Let's see if we do.
Since there's no one there, GT, let me just make a comment on the last caller's comment. And I could feel his passion and I empathize with his concern. But I would suggest that he probably should go into Grenlec, have a conversation. If you have shares, of course, there are rules that govern shares and profits and how those dividends are paid and all of that. And maybe there might be need for a little conversation to understand what might be happening with his shares. I'm not sure how many shares he has, and those things. So I would suggest this is not something that a minister would be able to explain, but I would suggest that Grenlec and somebody there who deals with investments and shares and all of that may well be able to assist him. He might be surprised what he might find out. I'm not sure. But I think that's the best place to raise that particular concern.
Okay. Let's take another caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Well, good morning and good morning to your guests. Mrs. Pierre, you were one of the ladies I was really looking upon based on your spirituality to make a difference in Grenada. And trust me, you dropped the ball. A lot of things happened and was covered up. Because we didn't have opposition, 2 consecutive terms. It was hard for Grenadians out here. We tried. We couldn't get nowhere because there's one person in charge. And you was one of the ladies that should have stand up with us to let us know what is happening because we didn't have no opposition and let us Grenadians know what to do. But you drop it. And you have to admit that you drop it. As a child of the king, all of us have to repent, but you did drop the ball and you didn't help us at all. Sorry for that.
Thank you there, caller, for your contribution this morning. I'm not sure Ms. P have any response. 435-2041. Respond. Go right ahead.
I wish I could have a conversation with that person that is a little lengthier so that I can discuss what is it that was covered up, what is it that was done to her that she's referring to. Let me say this, I personally would not want to discuss in detail, respond in detail here, but let me just say this. If something was covered up, I have absolutely no idea what this caller is referring to. And let me just say that I feel quite comfortable in my spirit. And so let's leave the rest to God in terms of judgment.
Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning to you, to you, Gary, and Miss Faith. Oh, God. Emmalin. My question to her is, you have been with the NNP over many years and seen that you've now been overlooked as not being the leader of the NNP. Aren't you ashamed? Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution there. Also, Ms. Pierre, you want to respond to the caller?
Of course, of course. There's no question that is too difficult. So let's start with the first thing. The leadership of a political organization, and let's be specific now to the New National Party. How do you elect a leader? The delegates meet at a convention. They nominate persons for leadership, and then the delegates vote in an election. Prior to an election, which happens at a convention, any person can have, including you and myself, views on who they think should be or should not be leader of a party. And we're speaking specifically to my party here. Why should I have a concern if anybody at all have a view that I should not be leader of the party or should be leader of the party? These are persons' personal opinions, and they have a right to feel that way, whichever way they feel. And I don't think, caller, you should take it so personal because it's quite okay. I can say, I don't think you should be something or you should be something. It is a personal view that anybody can have, and we should respect their view as to who their choice or their pick or their preference. At the end of the day, who it is really dependent on the delegates whenever a convention is. I think it would be very egoistic of somebody, as you said, to be ashamed of not being somebody's preference or pick. No, I'm not at that level.
All right.
I can't feel ashamed of not being somebody's preference, no.
Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Yeah, good morning again. Ms. Pierre, I'm not talking about, I won't say that the government passed a law. They have to do what they data first, do the research. People in the country charge less than people in town to cut the hair, right? You don't have a level price in Grenada, right? You want us to be international, recognized internationally. Well, in Trinidad, I'll tell you, they cut for $50 easy. In New York, $35 US for just a simple haircut. You talk about the beard, there's a hair. You understand? So, if we had a charge to meet international standard, Grenadians cannot pay for a haircut. They're going to complain. They won't come in the shop and cut. We know our people already. You're talking about children paying 30 EC, adults paying between $40 and $50. Who's going to pay that in Grenada for a haircut? So you have to look at your people, understand your people before you pass stupidness. You understand? I call that stupid because it's going to put people out of business. Simple as that. Barber's going to leave here and travel and forget this place. It doesn't make any sense to me here. Have a nice day, brother.
All right, caller, thank you. Spiano, you want to respond?
Can I just clarify something? Because I'm not sure if the caller is interpreting that lifting the standards mean automatically lifting the price to meet that of other prices in other jurisdictions. Of course, the price may change. It may go up based on what persons may have to incur as additional cost. But I don't think that we have to get to the place of the cost of a haircut in Trinidad. I think we can prevent that from happening. People won't be able to afford this. The caller, you're absolutely right. Who in Grenada would, well, I shouldn't say who in Grenada because there are some persons that might be able to, but most people in Grenada would not be able to afford a haircut for $50, which is why I would have wished that the caller and others who spoke about leadership, I mean, that is really insignificant to me at this time. What is significant at this time is the challenges that people are facing. What is significant is that we find a way to address this act and the enforcement and moving it forward, rolling it out in a way that we minimize as much as possible the effect that it has. So maybe if it was going to give us a blow, it might give us a tap on the hand. That's what I'm interested in talking about. Leadership and who becomes. I have absolutely no interest at this time in being the leader of the New National Party. So I don't even want to discuss this, quite honestly, caller. What I want to discuss is how can we help these people to move forward? How can we help them to continue their business? And as the previous caller said, that we don't shut down barber shops, we don't shut down hairdressing shop, we don't shut down the nail technicians, but that we empower them, we support them to be able to confidently continue their business here in Grenada. That's what is significant and important to me.
We may be able to entertain one more call and then we come back with a summary of today's program, folks. Let's entertain the final caller. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Yeah, good morning. I would like Ms. Pierre to know, I am a retired teacher, right? Ms. Pierre, you have took the Ministry of Education to the dogs. You could not have done more harm to the Ministry of Education. Thank you and have a blessed day. Bye.
Thank you also, caller, for your contribution. Ms. Pierre, any response before we summarize today's program?
Just to wish her a good day as well, and pray that, the current minister is going to take it to the highest level. I served with all that I have, and I feel quite satisfied with the service that I gave and the efforts that were made, the support I received from those who did their best as well. And my prayer, I'm going to join her in praying that, we get it to the sky, to the highest level as we can, and whatever advice I can give in that regard, I would be more than happy to do so.
All right.
But my concerns that are relevant continues to be that of how people are affected, the cost of living, how people are affected, that people cannot send their children to school. So yes, we can have a perfect education system. I would applaud. Let's get a perfect education system. But what would a perfect education system be with the best teachers like yourself when children cannot go to school? That's the point I'm making. So let's make the education system perfect. Let's make it the best. Of course, I would commend, I would congratulate. But at the same time, let's ensure children can go to school. Parents can afford to buy a uniform. Parents can afford to get their children support for school. That is what I would be happy to join her in prayers for that.
Any closing comments, Ms. Pierre? We are a little over time this morning. Any closing comments before we take a wrap for today's program?
Well, just to close, and I promise you I'll be less than 1 minute. I just want to say this as a responsible opposition, and someone made the point that we did not have opposition in Parliament before. I feel really, really proud, quite honestly, that even when we did not have an opposition in Parliament, there are things that we listened to the people on that guided the decisions that we took in Parliament. I mean, thinking about it now that the caller said this, there are so many decisions we could have taken knowing that we had no opposition in Parliament. But I feel quite satisfied at this point that the government at the time, 15 seats in office, was able to manage itself by listening to the people and being guided by the people. Even at times, as I said, that it got to the point of pulling back a piece of legislation because we felt there was not sufficient consultation, that people were not satisfied with it, and we needed more time to review and to engage on it. So I just want to use this opportunity to wish everyone all the best and to say to you, let us continue to look to God from whence cometh all of our help, and let us continue to work together in the interest of the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martin.
Mrs. B, I want to thank you very much for being on today's program. Thank you so much. Hope we could have another chance that we could have you come back on the program once again under the circumstances where we could discuss more of the issues from the opposition point of view. Until then, have yourself a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you too, and all the best to your listeners and viewers.
Hey, listeners and viewers, that's what we say goodbye for this edition of To The Point for today, Tuesday. Joining again tomorrow for another edition. As I will say, always be good to yourself and others. Have yourself a lovely day. That's why I say goodbye.